Yes, people, what's going on? Happy good morning. Happy 5th of
Happy
September.
good morning.
Happy good morning. Happy good morning, mate. I'm in such a good mood. I'm just making up new greetings, mate. That's what we're doing. Happy good morning on the 5th day of the September of the 2024. Yeah, big up to you. Happy Thursday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Happy nearly the weekend day. Just gonna make stuff up just because it feel good. Why not?
Why not?
Good.
Yeah.
It's the morning. Do you know what I mean? Big up to each and every one of you watching. Make sure you guys smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Get the likes up. We did a great job yesterday. Owen, I don't want you to come on board today and spoil this. Yeah, there was no flecknologies. The stream was smooth. You know, so the standard's high, bro. Like you can't just come back, like and try and just have subpar standards. Like I was on it yesterday. And you lot in the chat. Put some clap hands or some ticks to let Owen know I'm not lying. Was yesterday's stream smooth? Yes or no? Apart from the bit, Owen, where I was talking to you before the stream, that don't count.
Yeah, I was going to say,
don't say that don't count.
To get to that point,
that don't count. But the end output, the actual product of the recipe of the cake, yeah, the end goal. Let Owen know in the chat it was all good and we had a great show without you, yeah. But yes, so high standards, Owen, please, today. I want everything running nice and smooth. But what we did get to, we got to over 1,500 people watching, over 500 likes. We probably got 600 likes. So minimum,
excellent.
Owen's back. So minimum, we want to do more than that, guys. So yes, please do smash a like on the video. And Joe Flernan's got the right idea straight away. He says our squad is much better than when Ten Hag took over. Maguire for Wan-Bissaka, Yoro over Varane, De Ligt over Maguire, Martinez over Lindelof, Ugarte over Fred, Mainoo over McTominay, Mount over Van der Beek, Ahmad over Alanga, Garnacho over Sancho, Zirkzee over Martial, and Højlund. I mean, over CR7 looks like crazy in black and white, but I see what you're saying.
Even some will say the Zirkzee Martial thing, won't they? They'll say, "Wow,
yeah, exactly.
Long way to go."
It's a bit, yeah, exactly, and that's like Martial in his best form, obviously when he was good, but. I get what you're getting at, Joe. I get what you're getting at. And actually, when you put it like that, this is why the pressure is even more, to be honest, because you're going, all right, these are perceived upgrades. Where's the results? So hopefully we get to see it. What we're going to be talking about today, we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about this Casemiro situation. What's going on there? I think that's pretty much dead and buried. The Antony situation, pretty much dead and buried. Some interesting comments from Souness yesterday on Kobe Mainoo. Plus, he and Garnacho were nominated for big awards, big awards. And Justin Vavell stays on in his role as well. So loads to talk about during the show and whatever else in the meantime that you lot throw at us because it's your show. It's your show.
Yes, indeed. Casemiro, you know what's quite interesting, actually? The last few days, of course, the transfer window for us here in the Premier League has shut, but that doesn't mean it's shut for other countries, namely the Turkish League and the Saudi Pro League. And actually, the Turkish League has kind of sort of dominated the headlines a little bit, hasn't it? Particularly like Victor Osimhen making a surprise loan switch to Galatasaray. And many people are sort of looking at it going, actually, some, shall we say, issues that certain clubs have with certain players because of maybe the sort of Osimhen one. It's kind of blown everything open, going, actually, some players we maybe didn't think were going to leave could actually still now leave. One of those names is Casemiro. And of course, I guess that ties into the performance of the weekend from him. But there had been reports, links, rumors suggesting he could be on his way to Turkey, links to Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, etc. But Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail said last night that Casemiro is determined to fight for his place at Manchester United and will reject any approach. And also, with these rumors of him possibly going to Galatasaray, according to new reports out of Turkey, there is no chance of Casemiro joining Galatasaray, which is an interesting one, Flex, because it started off, didn't it? It started off with those reports coming out, was it Sunday? Late Sunday, early Monday. And it was like, that's not going to happen. No chance. And then suddenly, maybe some more sort of credible journalists started to come out.
Rob Dawson, wasn't it?
Rob Dawson, and I think it was Paul Hurst from the Times was sort of saying, "Oh, there is actually maybe a little bit of interest." Then suddenly your ears start to pick up and go, "Actually, maybe there is actually something in this one." But it's funny, isn't it? Because the natural the reaction from United fans was so interesting because
it was.
The general reaction was, well, he's not what he was. He didn't play well at the weekend. He got hooked at half time, but we can't afford to lose him because we don't have anyone else.
We don't have anyone else, mate.
So it kind of turned into, if this was a few weeks ago, maybe we could talk about it, but it's not. What else are we going to do? For instance, when he did come off at the weekend, who came on for him? Toby Collier. That's a problem in itself. Yeah. His replacement was an issue. Now, he did all right, Collier, considering the circumstances, but that's not a long-term. I don't know, Manuel Ugarte, he's going to be coming in, but what happens if he gets hurt? What happens if he's suspended? He just can't play all the games in general. So what would that end up being? So it looks like that one's not going to happen.
But the other side was also like, just quickly there, the one side was like you said, well, he's been bad, this, that, everything you just said. Then there was this staunch other side, which was, have to do this. Get him out.
Well, yeah.
Get him out.
Get him out.
Collier play. It's better than him playing. Just fast track him. Get Collier in. Ugarte can handle it. Even if we have to use Eric's, just get him out. If it means we can get the wages off.
It wasn't even just that as well. It wasn't even, and then there was the other part of it, which was that, like, yeah, do it. And then also with the money that you do have left over, if it is just a loan, go get Rabiot. He's on a free. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's on a free. There was these kind of different sort of parts of it.
Legitimate opinion.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. What did you make of it all?
I knew. I say I knew, not because somebody told me, just my own inkling and my own opinion. For me, in my head, Casemiro wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't even really. I could see why that was not a good thing to do. I did tweet this. I did tweet that as well. That's just not we just shouldn't be doing that. Like I said yesterday on yesterday's show, and in general, what we can see is, ironically, we're weaker in midfield at this present. In Gary Neville at this moment in time, we're weaker in midfield. We're weaker because of quite a few things. One, just because we sold a player there, but he's been replaced by Ugarte. But Ugarte isn't actually there yet. So that Liverpool game, like, we were weaker. We've got rid of Scott McTominay, and there's no one who can actually replace him because Ugarte isn't there yet, right? So that's one thing. We're weakened because what's his face? Mason Mount is injured again. And let's be fair, my hands are half here. They will be fully above my head soon. I know it's going that way. You did say this. And I said, yep, once I see it and it looks like another injury ravaged thing where we go, he just couldn't do it. I'm halfway, but we know he's probably going to come back, be in and out, then pick up a knock, step back. It's really sad what's happening to him because he was one of the most robust players, really fit, played all the games. But since his last season at Chelsea and his first season at United, and now this one, it's gone to pan. It's gone to shit. So we're weaker because of that. And we're weaker because Amrabat went as well, and we didn't replace him. So that's why we always said we wanted 2 central midfielders ideally this year, because it's still slim pickings. And then we're weaker because, again, Casemiro is not what he was. So all in all, the central midfield department, although we did get Ugarte, we're like, oh, fucking hell, thank God we got him. Overall, it's weak. It's weaker, So we can't.
And also, it's tactics, isn't it, too? So you mentioned all of those things. So it's we're weaker, we have less. And if you're going if you're going to point to, like, what's the biggest problem area tactically? Forget personnel, just tactically in that team, you would go midfield. Midfield, that's the biggest problem.
Exactly, which is exactly what I was saying yesterday as well. I was saying, like, because basically all the blame was on Casemiro for Sunday, and I was like, well, hang on a minute. Yes, he knows the things he done wrong and absolutely should have got hooked. But let's not act like, the structure of our midfield is not what is actually the one single biggest problem. Because actually, if the midfield wasn't set up like that, Casemiro wouldn't look as bad. Don't get me wrong, in build-up, he'd still give it away here or there, or he would look a bit uncomfortable in the things that we know he's not good at anymore. But he wouldn't get exposed half as much as he is now. Same as Mainoo. He wouldn't get run past every game. Same with Bruno. It's not just Casemiro. But anyway, so with all of that in hand, I said yesterday, no chance. He can't go. He can't leave because we haven't got a plan to replace him. It's not just Football Manager, like we'll just go and get Rabiot on a free now. That means the plan wasn't to get Rabiot. That's just, you're just doing that just because you let him go. And we would be weaker. We've got a lot of games to play this year. A lot. And Casemiro is going to have to play a lot of them. It's just our situation. We can't magic it away. We're going to have to make do. And I'm still saying Erik ten Hag has the tools to make do. There's still just about enough there to get something out of it. you know, if we were set up right, but then it was the individual bits of like, yeah, we just know next year he's not going to be there. We just need to invest more in there. Then you can, do you know what I mean? You got the manager's doing the best, but while the manager's doing what he's doing with our midfield, we're right to be able to criticize it. So yeah, there's no surprises for me why it'll be a stupid move for us to say yes. And also the Casemiro thing, bro. Like, I think we do play down like his hunger to disprove like what people are saying. I know his wife like posting up the thing. We're like, oh, whatever, man. Like, what's he doing now? Vibe. But like, Casemiro will still have an elite mentality. It's not transpiring in the pitch because he looked like a bag of nerves and it looked like his mentality was shot. Because actually, that was more like when you know, when he got the ball near the touchline, there's no one near him and he just fumbled his feet and it just went out for a throw. Like,
Yeah.
he was a bag of nerves after that. You know, when your confidence is just gone. I actually don't even want the ball. Get me off. It was that. But overall, he will still want to disprove that. And that's a lot of the noise is what we're hearing. That Casemiro wants to stay and fight for his place. And of course, he's got a nice contract. Why is he going to want to move as well?
Well, yeah. And, you know, on top of that, the first couple of games, particularly that first game against Fulham, there was a lot of praise for Casemiro. Played really well. Should have had chances. He got most expected assists in the league. And It's funny how
and
stuff
against
can change
City
really quickly. And you could argue, yeah, like I said, a City too. And you could argue that once again, maybe that does go back to sort of the tactical framing of it, because if he is in a system where he's maybe a bit more protected and there's more focus on, you know, which seems crazy to say passing ability because the first goal against Liverpool was a shitty pass. But if he's protected a bit better, then he still could have something to offer. I mean, largely, just in general, again, it's a bad position for United to be in because you're having to protect someone because you know they're on the decline. That person who is on the decline is, you know, the highest paid player in the team. And you would have got rid of him in the summer, but you couldn't get rid of him. So it's just, in general, it's a bad situation.
Correct.
But I think the idea that, you know, for the rest of the season, he's going to be like he was against Liverpool for the rest of the season. That's just not going to be the case, is it? He's going to have games like he did against Fulham. He's going to have games like he did against Liverpool where he can be just absolutely exposed. And that's kind of the key word, isn't it? Exposed.
Exposed.
You know, exposed. When there are going to be games, particularly with that system, particularly with some of those players, that they are going to get just royally exposed. Because,
do you think...
you know, they'll just get like people. Someone like Arne Slot looks at United and goes, "I never play against them."
Yeah, exactly. Easy. And until Eric changes that philosophy or drops that stubbornness, that's going to continue to be an issue for us. In terms of the impact of Ugarte on the subject of Casemiro, what do we think will happen, peeps? Let us know in the comments. I'm asking you guys, asking you as well, Owen. Like, is it a case of now we'll start to see, obviously, Casemiro now go to the bench for large parts? Could we see, because it is kind of into the Cobby thing a little bit later on, but could we see sort of like, you know, not this over-reliance on Cobby? Yes, we want to build a team around him. And if we took him out the team, of course, what's scary is that of what you're losing with such a young kid already, someone who can take the ball under pressure, progressive, all the things we know Cobby's good at. But, you know, could we see like a less of a reliance on him and maybe see Casemiro and Ugarte behind Bruno just for a bit of maturity in some games? Could we, or is it just a case of, no, Casemiro, you're eating bench now. Ugarte is going to be that guy next to Cobby. We're going to go with that, see how it goes for a few games. And then if Ugarte gets tired, you know, as it goes, yeah, Casemiro can come in and fill in. Is that what we're going to see?
But this is the thing. I just don't think, and this is why I already feel a little bit sorry for Ugarte, because I don't think it's a personnel thing. I just don't, because how many different combinations did we see in midfield last season because of the injuries? We saw every combination you can possibly think of.
Yeah.
And it was the same, and there were the same problems in the majority of all of the games. So I think that you would probably expect that Ugarte would probably be ahead of Casemiro now. But my point being is, if Erik ten Hag keeps the same tactics that he has at the moment, and those large gaps between, you know, the midfield and the attackers, and also if it's Liverpool played for us with like 2 passes, like literally pass, spin around, Cobby, done, or or a couple of players there on him, win the ball back, excuse me, done. If you literally just put in, right, I'll put Ugarte in for Casemiro and that's going to fix it, that won't be the case.
Yeah.
You feel bad for him. Now, like you said, does Ten Hag use these next 2 weeks as a time to Gary Neville's point, stumble on something and goes, right, I've got 2 weeks to basically, to use your phrase last season, rip everything up and find something different, because I've got to find something different to keep my job. Then maybe we do see situations, like I said, where it's Ugarte and Casemiro, and sometimes it's not always Kobbie, or sometimes Kobbie does to what Saeed and that was saying the other day, plays a bit further forward, possibly plays
maybe
in
there
like
might be some mileage
a more advanced position or something like that. Maybe that's what happens. But I don't see like Ugarte. Okay, Casemiro out, Ugarte in. That doesn't happen against Liverpool.
Just like for like easy.
I don't see that. I think again, I think that's when it goes back to a tactical point of view. But I still worry because, as I mentioned, against Liverpool, we still played 4-2-4 or 4-4-2, whatever you want to call it. It was still, instead of it being Bruno and Mason Mount as the 2 false nines, it was Bruno and Joshua Zirkzee as the 2 false nines. And that was meant to be the sort of like tightened up system. And we still saw the problems. So to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that is the truth. In reality, here's what I think will happen. A couple of things. So the first thing is that in reality, there will be moments where Ugarte does things individually where we go, Casemiro couldn't do that. Bloody hell. That's why we need him. So that might be, he might win a few tackles like in a foot race. He might nick in to get the ball aggressively and then give it to Kobbie or give it to Bruno.
He'll probably win the ball back more than Casemiro.
I mean?
So he most tackles in second most tackles in Europe last season.
Exactly.
So he'll win the ball back more. Yes.
So that's my point. He will do things that Casemiro can't do in isolation. In different passages of the game, we will notice something. We will go, I can see how mobile he is. I can see his willingness to get on the ball, etc., etc. And that, if we're not careful, could lure us into, like what you were talking about, could lure us into thinking, okay, second coming of Christ now, he's that, we've done it. He's that. But in reality, that will just be during phases of the game. And actually, when you're looking at why we've been bad, and this is my honest assessment, overall, you call it shit because the results are crap. By and large, you get picked off and you get played through and the midfield's too open, right? That's the overall assessment. But when you kind of compartmentalize it and break off little bits to examine them a bit further, what's actually happening is that there are periods or passages of the game where we're playing okay, where we're probably doing the right things. So this high pressing and winning the ball back in that third works sometimes. But then what happens is we're either not potent enough to turn that into legit chances / goals, or what happens is one of two things. Either the opposition works it out, or we start making mistakes, like individual actual errors. And then that system and that way of playing with these players doesn't work. And then it becomes one big whole mess. So it's like, you're right. If a guy is in there and for one game at home against bloody FC 20, we in that game, we won it back a lot quicker. We were on them. We created a lot of chances. We won that 3-1. That's what we want to see. Do that next week against Palace away. But what will happen is that we'll play in that same way, but you get punished for the same type of mistakes that get covered up. Because Casemiro or Kobbie or Bruno, those types of mistakes of like giving away the ball in them areas happen almost every game. It's just that in that one, every single time it happened, 3 big times, they resulted in straight up goals.
Well, also, that's also the difference, isn't it? Because it's not as if we didn't win the ball back high up the pitch that first 20 minutes, or we didn't win the ball back in the final third. And what do we immediately do? Just give it away. We'll give it away. Or we'll rush of blood, pick the wrong pass, whatever, and then it doesn't lead to anything. Difference is, Liverpool, they win the ball back high up the pitch. There's a mistake. 3 passes later, it's a goal.
Because, and they were tweaking as well, because they kept giving it away in the first 25 as well. And then
again, that's what I mean. But even with that, if it's not a goal, it's minimum. I know they only had 3 shots on target, but the point being is, there's a mistake from United, a couple of passes, they get the shot on target, they get the goal. With us, We lose the ball and we go, right, it's an opportunity. You get ball goes to Bruno, right? You can go to Rashford, you can go to Zirkzee, you can go to him, and it's wrong pass. Or it's too short of a pass. Too short of a pass, give the ball away, and we go, oh, that could have turned into something. And that's the frustrating thing is, even if you look at it on paper, if you look at it on paper, it doesn't count for anything. That's not a shot. That's not anything. You look at it, you go, wow, that could have turned into something. But you're going into like down routes of hypotheticals and stuff like that.
I don't think that, and the thing that annoys me of that is I don't necessarily look at that as ability. In the chat, let us know, right? So Owen has brought up the perfect point, right? When that happens, like the sort of breakdown of our play, how much of it is lack of ability because that player A is just not good enough in that area, and how much of it is just the decision making, and like someone says there, it's coaching. The coaching argument of that aspect is quite difficult because that means if we're saying that specific area is coaching, that means we're saying to Bruno Fernandes, who's nearly 30, who is fantastic at impacting the game, and his forte, his top attribute, his trump card is those balls in between the lines, the pass for the assist, or ball around the corner first time. That's where you want Bruno. That's what he's there for. Are we saying that he's coached so badly that when it's a 3v2 and he picks that pass to try and go between the lines to Rashford and underhits the pass, he's been coached to do that? Because I don't think that. I think that's an individual error. Bruno's good enough to play the pass. He's technically with his what do you call it? His technique, his his thingy. With his technique, yeah, of how to play a pass. Bruno knows how to do that. No one can convince me that Bruno doesn't possess a good pass in him. But so what is this?
Well, he does, but he's one of those players that
made the wrong decision.
Well, and also as well, he is one of those players that, and this is the problem in games like that, is you can't have like 5 goes at it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
In those kind of games, you might only get 1 chance or 2 chances at that, and you've got to make it count. I put it this way: if you think about those 3 goals Liverpool scored at the weekend, because they were all stemming from errors or giving the ball away or bad passing or pressing, whatever. Man United would not have scored those goals if they were presented with the exact same situation. So, a bad pass about when they win the ball, it's about near halfway line, the first goal, or losing but getting the ball off Casemiro again, about sort of 40 yards out, something like that. Same with Cobby in the second half. Man United would not, like you said, not even not scored a goal. They wouldn't have got a shot off. Because what would have happened, they would have won the ball back and you'd have gone, oh, we're going to do something. And the next pass would have been either the wrong decision or under hit. And then we would have gone, oh, that could have gone to something. And we're so desperate that we go, but it's good pressing though. Is that
lack of so we're saying the decision making from the individuals is one of the biggest problems. They get exposed because of the tactical setup for when you do make a mistake as well, because other teams make mistakes. Other teams give the ball away all the time. That's the difference as well. Liverpool were giving the ball away in the first 20 minutes, just like I saw Trent with some loose passes, Van Dijk, Robertson, they were doing it. So Bosley gave it away a couple of times. I was a bit like, that's what was giving us confidence, because we're like, listen, they're giving it away and we're able to counter. But then, like you said, we just give it away. But the key is that then they stopped making those bad decisions. They put a stop to it in game, and then they become more clinical because that is their normal routine. And also, when we were winning the ball back, it wasn't like they were at 6s and 7s and extremely open. Apart from that one where Bruno was free, and maybe the one where he plays the ball with the outside of his boot to Garnacho and he's kind of through, and then they got numbers back quickly enough, white shirts back, and also you get smothered in that. There isn't a clear, obvious chance from it because the setup's better. So it's basically a culmination of all those things.
It's a combination of, obviously for a player point of view, it's only the player that can, once they've got the ball at their feet, pick the right decision, don't underhit the pass. But then also you do look at system by that point, because they've been chasing the ball down, or it's been an end-to-end game for 30 minutes. Are they completely mentally and physically fatigued with just a few minutes left to half time or something like that? On top of that, because we continuously talk about this, but these are the same things we talked about last season. Then you look towards the coaching staff going, well, why aren't you coaching it out of the players at this point? Exactly. Why aren't you not addressing that? So, like you said, it's a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get the super chats done. Tadani says passing the ball 3 meters has nothing to do about tactics. That first goal against Liverpool has nothing to do with tactics. Maybe he is the one costing tactics, and that's what we were talking about, Tadani. Like the individual errors cause calamitous, but also the dominoes still, you know, the dominoes still fall. Do you know what I mean? There's still a second phase where defenders, centre backs, and full backs can still get their man and say, right, we'll defend this out, we'll clear our lines, even though he's effed it up in midfield. We can still defend properly. That's another thing that pisses me off. Ashadu says, Flex, it depends on the type of impact Ugarte has. If Ugarte can play 8 and has legs, Kobe is getting dropped and sub for Bruno from time to time. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Interesting one there, Ash. Interesting take, bro. And Stephen Island's grandmother. That's random, isn't it? Shout out Stephen Island's granny. That's crazy. Wow.
Deep cut.
Yeah. Can you see a lineup including Ugarte, Bruno, and Casemiro to give Ugarte Spanish speakers while he settles in? I mean, that's what I mean. We can't rule it out. I wouldn't rule that out for some games, because also, which again,
they won't play.
Not for Spanish. No, not for Spanish. I mean, really? just for not the over reliance.
I would play you. But you got
to get on Duolingo, mate.
Yeah, it's not really,
no, not for that reason. Not for that reason. But in terms of those 3 playing, that's what I was asking Owen earlier, and you guys, like, could we maybe see that and just, because we don't want to rinse Kobe into the ground as well. That's another thing that we need to talk about later on in the show. Antony, I ain't effing leaving. Oh, I missed one. Hold on, let me go back. What the
biggest?
The biggest one. My bad, D. B. I saved the biggest till last. D, big super chat. Thank you, bro. He says, actually, could be a woman. D says, fans need to be sympathetic with Erik ten Hag crumbling under pressure to journalists. Oh, this is interesting. This is the same media who questioned him like a scrub straight after the FA Cup win. Frankenstein settings. This is the monster they have created. My take on that is, I don't know. I don't think I feel sorry for him for that one. Not that one, because you know why? Because let's just call a spade, D, for me.
He played a dangerous game.
He played a dangerous game. And let's be real, bro. That he lost. He lost. Yeah. He took on. He said, "Come on, then you me fight." That's basically what he said, and he lost.
Well, he did the classic name him, and then they named him, and like when someone calls you out on something, you might know that you've done wrong, and you go, "Oh, what have I done wrong?" Then they name it, and you go, "Shit."
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, not only did he go, "All right, fair play," he then proceeded to just change it and go, "Well, that's what you see. I've got a different vision."
But you're in too late at that point.
For you.
You're in late at that point. What are you going to do? You can't lose face in that. I mean, I've done, you know me, I do all the press conferences, right?
That one's bad.
That relationship he has with a lot of those journalists, it's toward the end of last season, it was very frosty. And to be fair, a lot of the questions they ask him are so bullshit. And even going into that game, they were trying to drag him down certain pathways and get him to say certain things.
Yeah,
he probably takes the bait more often than he maybe should on some of those things. But it's quite clear a lot of them do have a specific agenda.
But Ian Lederman's not even that guy. If it was the Samuel first, or sometimes Jamie tries to get after him with some tough questionings, or whoever it is. If it was one of the regulars, like Ian Lederman's not really someone we see in all our presses, to be fair, is he?
I don't think so. He's not in there all the time.
So, and I saw him on TalkSport the other day. He was sort of explaining, and he was he didn't try to pile on afterwards to say how I showed him. He was just like, listen, we kept it respectful. But I just challenged him on what I saw. It's that simple. And everyone was picking up Ian Lederman. So that's where Eric's got to decipher the difference between someone attacking you and just trying to make you look stupid versus legitimate questions that you need to be held accountable for. And if you try to make an example out of a journalist and you lose, you're not going to get an easier ride. And then on top of that, forget the journalist. Us as fans start to go, hold on a minute, wait a minute, hold on a minute, wait a minute. Yeah. And I'm like,
no, wait a minute, wait.
That's how I felt. I honestly felt like, hold on a minute. You can't say that. That's annoying to me as a fan. Like, don't say that. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, more super chats coming in as well. Bonehurt says, does he survive a loss to Southampton?
Yeah, I think he does, but it would be like
it would be hanging on by. Yeah, he'd survive it out of what do you call it? Out of right now at 12:30 or 2:30 when the game ends. We can't just sack him on the spot and we don't.
And also we've got like after the international break, how many games we've got in such a short period of time?
Yeah,
It's
is
like
it
a
like
game
8?
every free. It's ridiculous. It's a silly amount of games. So like,
Yeah.
probably not. Probably,
And a lot of them
so
are
that wouldn't
winnable.
happen. Yeah.
Well, on paper.
Wow.
Southampton's one's the
Wow.
Southampton's the one where there is winnable. Rock bottom, conceding loads of goals, trying to play out. Russell Martin said, I'm sticking to my principles, mate. I'm going to keep playing out. So if they play us off the park with good football,
Sure, it reminds me of
Mary's Road.
actually. It reminds me of when we played Burnley away last season. You know what I mean?
And home.
Where it was like we played Burnley, but I mean it was right after we played Bayern, wasn't it? And we played Burnley away, and actually that day Burnley were the better team. They played good football, and we resorted to long ball. Johnny Evans ping it to Bruno Fernandes, and we won. And I was like, fuck it, just win.
Just win. Mate, remember Hannibal started that game and we said, it's so bad right now. The reason why he's in there is because he just needs someone who cares. He's going to run around and kick people. That's what he did. Probably got a yellow card. And I remember watching that. Me and Josh were in the stands for that because when we've done the behind the scenes at Burnley. And like, we spoke to the players before and after, but the relief, like you said, like Burnley were on us first half. They hit the post. Like, Onana made saves. And I'm going, fucking look at this. And it's true, you can't forget these things. That was early last year. Played off the park twice against Burnley, twice.
Yeah, like I said, that's why it reminds me of like a team that's just come up from the Championship. They're probably criticised for being too naive and we're just going to play football the way we play it in the Premier League. And you go, you'll probably get relegated doing that. But we don't care. And then every team plays, because they're better than them, sort of ends up beating them quite comfortably. But when they play United, that's when they play their football really well. And you go,
that's what I'm saying. And then the next week they'll go back to getting slapped again and just giving away the ball. I watched them against Brentford, bro. Subpar players, with the greatest of respect. Again, me probably get clipped up saying this, but I'm just going to be honest. Players that are not good enough to play that style at this level, picked apart. Wissa nicking it off them, Mbeumo nicking it off them. Easy day in the office. Easy day, albeit it was away from home. But at St. Mary's, same thing. That shouldn't be happening. But guess what? Like you said, Man United are in town. I tell you what, Russell Martin's going to play the same way. These lot are fragile. You could just see it. And I just really, really hope that doesn't happen. Because if it does, back to what Bonehurt says, he will survive it, but it's all but over if that happens. It will feel like it anyway. Show says, I'm always blaming individuals when the midfield has been left vacant for over a year. That's coaching and tactics, plain and simple. Do you mean in general? Because I think that's what me and Owen were basically alluding to. It's not just Casemiro. That's our whole point we've been talking about basically for the last half an hour. So big up to you, Show. Daniel says, if Ten Hag drops Mainoo for one game, the fans will cry. I don't think we should if that happens. Yeah.
But no, but he's right. Can you imagine the freak out? Look what happened when he dropped Ahmad at the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to stop doing that as well as fans. Magambo says, just pause the Liverpool game. Just pause Liverpool goal 2 and 3. Take a look at the passing options for Casemiro and Kobe and the massive gap between our midfield three. Stop blaming individuals. Again, this is what we're talking about. The shape we're talking. It's both. Like you said, it's a combination. Sometimes the individuals make bad decisions. So, one of the correct passes should have been to the right-hand side where Mazraoui was free, but we chose to go back into the 5v5 on the left-hand side when we've worked an overload on that side, so progress the ball that way. And then some of it is, well, if you make a mistake, you should still be quite compact, but look at your gaps. So it's 6-1, half a dozen the other. We've got over 1,600 people watching live, nearly 1,700, so better than yesterday because Owen's back. He's raised the roof. He's raised the numbers. We're at nearly 400. It's the Owen effect. We're nearly 400 likes. So let's hammer those likes home, peeps. Let's get to 600, man. But we're nearly at 400. Little steps. Let's get to 500. I'll tell you, I'll set you that, and then we'll get back to it because we've got a lot to get through in the show. Antony said, "I'm not effing leaving."
Yes, Antony, a little bit, once again, it's going back to these sort of Turkey rumours. For Richard Romano saying, no truth in Antony Fenerbahce links from Turkey as he's fully committed to the Manchester United project. No intention to leave the club this summer, as always stated by those close to the Brazilian winger. So Antony not going anywhere. I don't think anyone, to be honest, expected him to go anywhere. No. Whenever those sort of links had popped up, Fenerbahce or it was Real Betis on the last day or something like that, wasn't it? You go, oh, and then nothing really happens. I think it is quite staggering, though, isn't it? Even with the shape that Man United are in at the moment and the lack of options we do have in wide positions, not a sniff. not a sniff at all. Of course, I'd be very committed when I realised that, you know, I'm on 200k a week, which again, I do not bemoan Antony for that. That is Manchester United's fault for the situation they've put themselves in with that financially. But he's not going anywhere. And as far as it feels like with him now at this point, as time goes on, like it feels like he can offer less and less and less. You know what I mean? To the point where, you know, when the team news came out on Sunday and you look towards the team and you go, oh, maybe a couple of things I would change that. But you look towards the bench, you went, that bench is dead. It has got nothing on it. Nothing on it. And the thing is, you look to the bench and one of the people on the bench is 86 million quid. I mean, talk about definition, sin of the past. Where you look at that and you go, we spent all that money. He's still on that money. And we've come to the conclusion, or the manager, his guys come to the conclusion and been like, no, nothing. Offer absolutely zero. And that's even in a situation where you've got, like, you know, I know he plays on the right as well. He got two people ahead of him. Two. One of them actually his natural position's on the left in Garnacho. So Garnacho's ahead of him. Ahmad's ahead of him. It's mad. It is mad. And that will be, you know, like all of these Man United managers that have come and gone, there's always that sort of defining signing of people when they go to, like with Ollie, it was Maguire, you know, like 80-odd million. They go, with Eric, it will be Antony. Antony will be that signing when they go, that didn't work.
Oh, he's done already. 100%.
That didn't work.
It's
Jose was Pogba, wasn't it? You know, the big 100 million one, and whether or not you think it did or didn't work out, but they go, Jose, Pogba fell out within, you know, towards the end. You know, with David Moyes, just for him, unfortunately, it was Marouane. That's about it, because it was him and Juan Mata. He was able to sign. But the point being is, and Van Gaal, what was the defining Van Gaal signing?
Di Maria, mate.
Di Maria, the lot of money, Champions League final, man of the match, gone within a year.
Yeah,
come within a year.
Ronaldo, you know.
Yeah,
but obviously we wanted him back. You know, it's Ronaldo fever. And
but
stuff.
I mean, that one where it's like polarizing. That was like, whoa, you know, because Ollie will always be Maguire with him. It will always be.
Oh yeah, sorry, Maguire. What am I talking about?
It will always be Maguire, and with Ten Hag, that will be Antony. That will be like four.
Yeah, it already is, and like you said, when the manager himself starts undoing it, and like that, you know, because remember early on in the first season and a little bit of last season before Antony had all that shit going on, and then his head was just gone as well, and the performances were gone. Eric was really trying with him, kept playing him, you know, really backing him in the media. Now just outside of mind. It's actually got that bad that I actually forget he plays for us. Like, it's going down that route because he's not one to come off the bench really very often to impact the game. He's obviously training every week and making no impression. And Eric
when
himself,
he does come off the bench, we go, oh.
Exactly. So for him to have a redemption, it would have to be like the redemption of all redemptions. It's only going to end one way because he's not going to get any game time as well. He'll end up getting pissed off. It'll be very difficult to shift him. Very difficult. There might be a few loans in there. Might have to loan him out for all of next season, let the contract get down even less, or there's going to be a lot of creative ways to get him out because it ain't just going to just be someone's going to pay some decent money and all the wages are sorted. There's going to have to be a lot of ways to get him out. But it's just not going to work, is it? It's just not going to work. And when Eric Ten Hag has given up on you and he's stubborn and sticks by his thing for ages, that's how you know even he's gone, mate. Not a chance. Not a chance. And am I surprised? Again, another thing, you know, United and it needs to stay. It's hard. I'm not surprised though, because again, if we let him go there, we're another body light. Not saying that he comes on and does anything, but we are actually really light.
I don't think it's that though. It's not that. It's not like United like, oh well, we'd be light. It's just a case of, you know, I'm sure there might have been. I'm sure maybe there were clubs in Turkey. Maybe Fenerbahce were like, yeah, we're interested. We'll take him. Can't pay much of his wages, but we'll take him. And from his point of view, he'd just go, why would I leave? Yeah. Why would I leave? I've got a contract here for ages. Even alone, I might play more football. I'm all right. I'm settled here. You know, it's cool.
And in his head, like you said, he's doing that whole I'll fight for this and fight for that. He ain't fight for nothing. He's not going to get in. Not going to get in. And again, you just look at our options up front. And if the confidence isn't high and it doesn't click, it's like Rashford's down the pan. When's he going to start playing good again? We talk about Antony, rightly so, but Rashford, you know, I'm not putting them in the same breath. But in terms of over to Rashi's point of view now, we can't rely on him. When's he going to start playing well? Then you're relying on Amad and Garnacho, who are young, not extremely potent, not like you can hang your hat on what you're going to get. They're still trying to learn the game in a difficult time. And you look at Zirkzee and Højlund, it's like it's really young, and it's like,
I
where the
wonder
goals going to come from, mate?
What did McCullough say to you in pre-season? How many goals Rashford was going to get?
Yeah, he said. I think he said 21, didn't he?
Is he
20 goals? Did he
25?
get over 20 goals? 25.
25.
Maybe it's 25. There you go. There you go. So we'll hold him accountable to that. We'll get him back on and say, bro, what's going on with your boy? Because that is one where, again, certain people want to keep backing him, and whilst everyone's a United player, I get it. You back your players, isn't it? When they get on the pitch, I don't back them to do badly on purpose. But I'm only going off what I'm seeing, and I just can't see a turnaround. He will score a goal here and there, but right now he's not even had a shot. You know what I mean?
No, could have got a couple of assists, I suppose.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Where we're at 476, 1,700 people watching live, 476 likes as well. We're nearly at 500. Get on it, guys. Smash a like on the video right now. Souness slams Cobby. Did he slam Cobby?
This is an interesting one. It's an interesting one. So beginning with, the nominations came out for the Ballon d'Or yesterday. A couple of interesting things for the Copper Trophy, which is like, the emerging trophy. Alejandro Garnacho was named as a nominee. So was Kobbie Mainoo. But speaking of Kobbie Mainoo, of course, doing the rounds was Graham Souness. He was on TalkSport and he was talking about Manchester United, of course. What else does he talk about? And speaking on Kobbie Mainoo, he said, I have to say this. I'm not being unkind. Mainoo might be a player, but it's so Man United. This is not to be critical of Man United. It's never been any different. He says, but when someone comes on the scene at Man United, in my days, they were the new George Best or the new Bobby Charlton, the new Dennis Law. It is FC Hollywood. They call Bayern Munich in Germany FC Hollywood. That's Man United here. He says, if anyone shows anything, they're put into the superstardom category way before they even become a good player. And Mainoo right now should be a player that's fitting in and flitting in and out of a good team, not coming in and being asked to stand up and play against the very best teams. He might be a player one day, but he's certainly not the go-to man at Man United like they're making him out to be in midfield. They got ran over. They were not in the game. What are your thoughts about what he's saying there, Graham Souness? Because, of course, when it comes to Manchester United, he is, I believe the phrase is a bitter bastard when it comes to all of that. Is there an element of truth in what he's saying, or is it just a case of Souness being Souness? Let us know.
So this is the case. Remember when I was doing the Carragher thing and people were like, we know what he's saying, Flex, but it's the messenger. Like, we don't like them. We don't F with them, man. Like, and Souness is levels above that. He's always looking for a way to get us. So as soon as he mentions us as a team, rightly so, we've got the shield in one hand, we've got the sword in the other. We are ready, yeah. But if you dissect what he's actually saying, take out the bits where he might have a little personal jibe because he's Liverpool through and through. Take that out. If you're smart enough to look at what he's saying, he's not wrong. He's not wrong in terms of what happens here is we put far too much pressure on a player and say they are the one. This is the guy. Play him every game. Rinse him. He's a world superstar. When they're either not ready or, like you said, they're in a shit team. And we try and make them the next George Best, the next Brian Robson. You know what I mean? He's got a point, and I just think we have to sift through that and take out the bits where it's like he's saying Hollywood FC, you're trying to get a little jibe, and you're trying to do that. But actually, just on Cobby, if we have we don't need Graham Souness. We shouldn't need Graham Souness of all people to tell us that. To tell us that we need to wake up ourselves and like make sure we don't run Cobby into the ground and ruin him. Like, that is our own thing to sort out, because make no mistake, with the way that the team is set up, with how bad Man United has been over the years, luckily we've got some good decision makers in there now, so they're going to need time to work. Hopefully it's the perfect time for Cobby to actually be here. Because if we don't get it right with Cobby, his potential, if he chooses to stay here a long time, which I really do hope he does, his potential could be scuppered. It could be wasted because he might get misprofiled, mismanaged in a shit sinking team that is not on the front foot. That is, like you said, got gaps all in midfield. He can't even get on the ball to showcase his talent. So whilst it's Graham Souness and he's the bitter bastard, like you said, and doesn't like Man United, there are 100%, whether you like it or not, some elements of truth in what he's saying. And we as a fan base, away from him, let's discuss it ourselves. We need to be aware of that. And so do Man United, because Kobe could absolutely be rinsed if we're not careful.
Some interesting news here regarding an ex-Manchester United player. Fabrizio Romano just tweeted in the last couple of seconds that Flamengo have made contact with former Manchester United striker Anthony Martial among main options to replace Pedro, who suffered an ACL injury. Martial has been approached while he's considering several options for his future. So
there you go, mate.
Out to Brazil.
Maybe Martial FC might say, see, cold baller, look at that. Yeah, waiting until on the free market, just chilling, like they rinsed De Gea for taking the year out, didn't have no offers. There hasn't been loads of top offers for Anthony Martial, and now we might go out there to Brazil.
Brazil, yeah. But just on the Souness stuff, I think it's one of those situations where several things can be true at one time. Graham Souness, like you say, well, like I said, is a bitter bastard. He doesn't like Manchester United. I generally, I don't think he likes many things in life,
other than Liverpool Football Club.
Or people.
And Scotland.
I think just doesn't. That's why, as a pundit, he is incredibly jarring, because it's just largely moaning about things that he doesn't like, people he doesn't like, teams he doesn't like. In this instance, again, take away FC Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, because again, it's a piece filled with shot. Bit of truth. Shot. So take all of that away. We say it as fans, don't we? Going, got to be careful with some of the things you say about some of our players, because we do put them on a pedestal, particularly if they come through the academy. We do overrate them. Signings that we make as well. We see him have one good game. Remember when Amrabat played left back in his first game against Palace in the Carabao Cup last season? That's it. Sorted, no problem. So we do get carried away, and we do overhype things. So because of that, we should be careful. And he's right in the sense that there shouldn't be. I mean, bear in mind, again, this is his first full season as a Manchester United
a lot harder for him this year. People are onto him now.
Starting player, because he was injured last season, and he came in, and immediately he was suddenly really, really important. So it's in a properly functioning club, there would be not as much pressure on him, because there would be other options. If he needs to come out for a little bit, he can come out for a little bit, or what have you. Because we're now at the stage, if Kobe got hurt, we'd be like, oh my God, what are we going to do?
And that should not be the case.
And that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case for him. I suppose that's somewhat is part of the territory. I just guess in general, when it comes to Manchester United, any player, if you're a young player, look at like a Marcus Rashford, right? If you show a little bit of talent or promise, you get, to the moon, superstardom. Maybe when you don't really deserve it, or your talent doesn't really deserve it. We said
and
that
now
about
look
Rashford,
how we speak about Marcus.
We say that actually the profile, the brand is here, the talent's kind of here. It doesn't level up, and that there's the disconnect. So maybe that's maybe that's a Manchester United issue. Maybe that's a modern day football issue at big clubs. We should protect our players a bit better. So he is right in that regard. Do we need Graham Souness to tell us that, though? Probably not. And largely a lot of the stuff he says gets dismissed straight away. But there is an element of truth in there. I will give him that.
Yeah,
one.
I agree, and that is so true in terms of we have to just be so careful. And I'm on that now. I know I'll say it now. I'll probably get carried away if something good happens. But it's true.
You didn't want to give him new money, a new contract, or whatever.
This is what I was saying. See, I was saying just keep it. See, I was basically saying what Souness was saying from before. I was like, listen,
don't give him the money. Don't give him the money.
Give him the money yet.
Parents don't want it.
Just chill. They'll be all right on the money he's on now. The little 500 YTS. You know what I mean? Like, obviously not that. Obviously, give him the new contract and stuff. But that was what I was trying to. When I was like, don't let him go England yet. I was on that then. But as I said, and I'm not going to backtrack on it. Like, he kept knocking down the barriers where it's like, well, he's got to play for England. He's the best one to do it. He's got to stay in the team all the way up to the final. England looked better with him.
I think England wanted that. They didn't start with him in the tournament, did they?
Exactly.
And his talent became too much. And his talent started coming much. And he was like, well, he's got to play.
And this is the other side of what Graham Souness is saying, is that there's one thing of going, someone's, superstardom and they should be coming in and out. But actually, if someone's ability reflects that, good enough, you're old enough. And not everyone's going to be a Yamal or, a young Wayne Rooney when you're 16 playing, and you just, young Michael Owen, where it's like, Jesus. I know he's only 17, 18, but he's got to play. What he's doing is crazy. When a player starts doing that, with that maturity at that age, the byproduct of that is they're going to play a lot because they're good enough. But we still shouldn't forget that they do need rest. Sometimes they do need a bit of time out. And actually, especially before they've got like a big body of work. So Kobbie's work is within a really condensed period. What he achieved is really something over 3 years. That was in the matter of 8 months, 9 months.
Coming back from an injury. Remember that.
Coming back from an injury, knee injury,
Yeah.
which shouldn't really happen. That's not normal. To be out that long, then go from October to May. You're a mainstay scoring winners for Man United. You're in the England squad. Then you've won the FA Cup and you've actually scored the winning goal against your rivals. Then you're on the plane to the Euros. Then you're not in the squad in like starting team in the Euros. Then you get to the final and you nearly won the Euro. That's not, them 5 things are not normal to happen in like 8-9 months. But in his case, they all happened really quickly. So the challenge now this year, and this is where we do have to be honest, the challenge this year for Kobbie and for Man United is to make sure that he stays as effective, because it's very difficult in your second season. Pros will tell you, ex-pros tell you, now everyone knows about you. Now your cards are marked. Now everyone's going, that Kobbie, you know he wants the ball. You know he's powerful. 2 of you go get after him, or you go get on him. It's a different proposition for Kobbie this year. And we have to allow him that time. Bit of bad form, bit of fatigue, bit of mental fatigue. Need to take some time out, look at it from the sidelines, have a little look at it, as well as we wanted to build the team around Kobbie, 100%. He's got a great potential. He's got everything at his feet. But that away from Souness, just with what we're saying, we have to be really, really careful that we don't overdo it. And his card.
Definitely.
Jamrock TV says Rashi keeps making the runs and not getting the ball. That does happen quite a bit. And AJ says, kind of agree with Souness. Man United needs to build around Mainoo and not put pressure on him. Something I tell Arsenal fans about is that Ethan Nweri, that kid? I've seen him before. Is that his first name?
Yeah, Arsenal fans are very high on him.
Yeah, patience. Yeah, exactly, patience. Wasn't it the same with their kid? What's his name? Charlie Patino, I think, that other little striker they had. I can't remember if he's still there.
I'm not sure. Again, with young players, it's so always hard. Like you mentioned, Yamal, and I think it's a really good point to bring up, because when you see players of that age do the stuff that they've been doing, or people like Erling Haaland, because obviously they did it, he started really young, or Jude, because he was 16, he's getting shirts retired or whatever. But all the players develop differently. Some of the best players in the world right now, they weren't like superstars when they were like 17, 18.
What was Salah doing then?
Exactly.
What was Kevin De Bruyne doing then?
It just takes a while for it to click. The Harry Kane, went on loan a bunch of times or whatever. Even Cristiano Ronaldo, like, he came to United, had potential, promise, and then it felt like, didn't it? Just like around sort of 2005, 2006, you're like, oh shit, he's really good now.
Yeah. Then it was like, oh shit, he's won the Ballon d'Or.
And then remember, and then when he's he's leaving United, we're like, oh, he's one of the best players in the world. Like I said, Ballon d'Or. Then you see it Real Madrid, you go, he's going up even more levels. Like,
he's an all-time
the amount
great.
of goals he scored. But this is what's mad about him. Like, the amount of goals he scored whilst he was at Real Madrid, it goes like his total goals in his career is going like this. It goes to Real Madrid, goes whoosh, like that. It's mad. So the point being is, some players, they're not like, they can become the best players ever, but at 16, they might not be. You know what I mean? Right. They might not be at that point. Lamine Yamal, it's going to be fascinating to see how his career plays out, because historically, those players that are like that young, does it always last? Can their body even keep up with it? Especially now, with the amount of games that they play. But not every player is like that. We just signed Kone, and he's 18. You forget he's 18, so that's where you go. Well, maybe
that was another thing people were saying. Oh, just put
Marcel.
Kone in. Yeah, Marcel goes, just put Kone in. Mate, they've stressed to us 7 million times. The kid is new to England. They're giving him sort of like house parents just to make sure he's calm. Keep him on. Not Casemiro's been sold, Kone. I know we said we're going to ease you in, but getting the first team squad, you might come off.
But now you're starting.
Talk about ruining players. And just on that Copper Trophy, Yamal will win it as well, by the way. Which he should.
Yeah.
What a player. But like you said, there's so many things to discuss with that. We're at 560 likes. Come on, guys, let's get over 600 before we wrap the show with the last piece. we've been at 1700 pretty much all morning, which is good as well. Pato, remember the hype, Alexander Pato? Yeah, remember Pato? Did Pato come Chelsea?
Yeah, he was at Chelsea for a year,
And
wasn't
it
he?
just, mad. Pato at AC Milan, man. Oh my days. Pato on flipping Pro Evo. Oh my days.
You know his best player on Pro Evo?
Adriano, mate.
Yeah.
99 shot power, mate.
Oh, mate.
On your Master League. Wicked. What a player.
Do you still play with the Pro Evo buttons now? Is that your setup?
That's why they call me old, yeah. I literally go and do every single thing that was on Pro Evo. L1 to change man, R1 to sprint, square to shoot. You know what I mean? All of that. R2 finesse. Like I just change it all, and D-pad. Well, even though you could use the analog on there, but I was always D-pad. I'm D-pad. Shout out to the EAFC peeps as well. Kind of agree with you. Okay, we've read that. Yeah, so let's get us to over 600 likes. And lastly, Vavell staying on.
Yes, he stayed on. Well, he was always going to, in fairness, but it's just been confirmed as the interim director of recruitment. He's going to stay on for the January transfer window after playing a key role in the summer transfer window. He had signed a contract until February and will remain in his role until then, with the possibility he then takes up a position on a more permanent basis. The club and the 37-year-old German are both happy with how the relationship has worked out thus far. We spoke about Kone. Reportedly, he was quite instrumental in that one. And to be fair, we were all quite happy when we heard of the deal in the first place of like, right, you've got 2 transfer windows, go prove your worth. And he was very influential in it. And he did quite well, didn't he, in the summer window? It's funny how everything is recontextualized, isn't it? Because previously we were like, summer transfer window's gone quite well. And now we're like,
yeah.
We're not very good.
We always do that. We did it last year as well. We was like, great window. We've got our key positions. We've got a midfielder. We've got a goalkeeper. We've got a striker. That's the spine. A young striker to get our teeth into. And then it starts, and we're like, shit. Do you know what I mean? So
the January one will be the indicator because we just don't participate, do we? We don't participate. So if we did,
will we participate this time? Maybe if something happens with Antony, and even in general, you just think we just will.
Yeah, we got the Jane Sancho bunny.
But what have they done? Does it count yet? Yeah. Just by getting his wages off, or
wages off the bill? Yeah.
Can you do it? Is it that easy?
We sold players. I know we spent money. I think our net is around like 100, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah. We can get involved. We can have a little look. What's there?
We got more to play around. Last year, remember Eric was like, they sent Reguilon back out of the hope. We'll see if we can find something. They were like, maybe we can get rid of Martial or what have you. Wasn't going to happen. I think this year we will.
We need to get involved. Guys, big show. Well done. Are we over 600 likes? We're at 596. So come on, guys, you could do it. While I read out the last super chat of the day. Akil says, gotta ask, when our manager said Zirkzee and team isn't ready, we said nah, he doesn't know. And we as fans were acting like all ITKs. Thoughts on that? Well, yeah, I did say I was like, when I looked at Zirkzee, I was like, maybe that was a reason why I was holding him back, because he's probably still. If Mason Mount was fit and not having to get hooked at halftime at Brighton, he would have gone again. I'm sure of it. He would have gone again. I do think there was a reluctance to put Zirkzee in just yet, and maybe we did see that because he looked a bag of nerves, looked off the pace. He didn't look right, and some of that can be nerves. Some of that can be trying to get acquainted to a new league, especially that game as well. Liverpool at home, there's nowhere to hide. But I don't know about you, Owen, but I did see a player when I was looking at him on the pitch, especially in the stadium. I was like, he looks like he's not ready. He looks like he needed a little longer. And, De Ligt was fine for most of it, but then got infected with the same gene that the rest of them did towards the end, started giving the ball away. But actually, in the beginning bits, he was fine. But there did seem to be a little bit around Joshua Zirkzee where I was like, doesn't quite look ready.
Yeah, I think, what he's not got going for him as well is he's a big guy. So when he's got a bad touch, people go, oh, it's a bit sort of Lukaku-ish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he did look a bit, shall we say, clumsy at certain points. Like I said, definitely looked nervy. I felt bad for him. I don't know if you've seen the clip where when he got subbed off and he sat on the bench, he slumps back in his chair and Rude leans over and pats him on the back as if to say, like,
and Johnny Evans,
sort of just say, hey, mate, don't worry about it.
And the one where he just sinks his head on the post.
Yeah.
That is the thing of fucking, I'm having a hard time here, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And
you learn
to the pressure, mate.
Welcome
exactly. Man United.
Exactly.
How good you are will be determined off one game of football.
Well,
That is it.
before that, like you said, we're all lauding him because he's come off the
Yeah.
bench with a good striker's finish, saying, "Ah, see, new sign," and then he misses gilt-edged chances like that. Albeit the game was pretty much done, even though that technically could have been 3-2, but it's all different ways of saying it.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, you've got to score then, mate. And plus, he had a stinker in the first half, so it's those things. But then you could get your confidence up against Southampton, get a tap in, decent finish or whatever, and then you're off again. It's just going to have ups and downs, man, and we just got to be patient. Bologna in Serie A is not Liverpool in the Premier League at home for Man
No,
United.
exactly.
no disrespect, but it's not.
No.
And the pressure the scrutiny at this club. So especially in a time of need where Rasmus is not fit yet, we don't know where our goal is going to come from. Whoever plays in that 9, we're looking at them saying, "Save us. We need you to score."
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Right, what have we got later on coming up today? It's Thursday, which means it will be the full view later on. And if there's any news throughout the day, obviously, of course, we will bring it to you as well. Thanks for getting involved in the show. Over 600 likes. You guys did it. You smashed it. Big up to you. And we'll see you again on another show very, very soon this evening. Take care. We're out of here. Peace.